All right, what is up? So I'm gonna give you a couple little tips and things I've learned on sales anxiety. And sales anxiety is actually the same anxiety, I believe, that you face with any other type of anxiety. So if you can master the fear and these feelings, these emotions in this situation, for instance, cold calling, which is like the most, anxious activity you could do in sales, then you can master these in anything. Relationships, you can master them in learning new skills. So I wrote down, I kind of thought about it for a minute because I had to reflect back on my own sales career, but I wrote down some notes. So I might be picking my head backing up. The first thing is usually not what people want to hear. The first thing is that you have to look at your relationship. You have to change your relationship with anxiety. That's what we have to do, right? Because there is no silver bullet. Like people that have issues with anxiety, which I've had those. I've just learned how to overcome them. But we want just tell me what to do to make it go away. That's what we want, which is the easy route to go, right? We want to go the path of least resistance, but it's just not the truth, right? That's not how life works. There is anxiety in life because here's what anxiety means. It means if you have a lot of anxiety, it means that you care a lot, which is good. Okay, so I want you to think, I'm going to go back in science a little bit. Why do we even get anxious about something? Well, internally, on a physiological level, think about prehistoric times. So like when you get anxious, your face gets flushed, your heart palpates, your blood pressure increases. All these physiological responses are actually induced as a trigger in order for you to get away from the thing that is harming you. So it's a survival mechanism. It's actually built within humans, right? So you can't change that. Like everyone has a level of anxiety. Some people just have maybe a little bit more. Okay. So don't think that you're different, like that you're just some odd, person out there that nobody else experiences these things. I promise you, everyone experiences anxiety just in different ways, and we've learned to cope in different ways. So you have to, change your relationship with anxiety. We have created beliefs and assumptions about certain things. And so when you think of cold calling, when people think of sales, when they think of cold calling, they think of something that is very difficult. Generally, they generally think of something that is a hard task, something that's near impossible, something that they're going to face high levels of pushback. And so the first thing I would say is we need to start altering our beliefs towards the task. How do we do that? Here's a tip. I would take, I don't know if I have one. I would take a 5 or 4x6 index card. And if I were you, this is what I was taught from a mentor of mine, was I want you to write down an affirmation on the card. That affirmation could say, and I want you to read it multiple times a day, if you can, when you wake up and before you go to bed. And the affirmation may state, I have no fear and anxiety when I call on people. I do not get anxious when I make cold calls. I'm a master salesman. People enjoy speaking with me. People enjoy conversating with me. I bring value to everyone that I call upon. So you could write any of those kind of things on your card. Just make it, it doesn't have to be a big, novel. But I want you to read it out loud, the spoken word, articulating that so that way not only do you say it, but then it feed a feedback loop into your auditory, okay? Key. So that's how we start changing some of these inner beliefs, okay? What else we got here? We talked about that. You also have to remember that anxiety is a feeling. It's an emotion. You can control your emotions. Doesn't happen right away, but you control your emotions. And again, it's that feedback loop. You have the external world and you have the internal world. The internal world is your thoughts. How do we think? The external world is like you're literally sitting in the office, right? And the phone's sitting there. And it looks like it weighs 1,000 pounds, right? Here's another tip on how to proactively get past this. It's called exposure therapy. Sounds like a big thing. All it is that the more you do something, the less anxious you'll be about doing it. Because what you will learn, see, you have a preconceived notion that because you care so much, you're afraid of failing. You're afraid of failing, which in your mind, you're translating to, I'm a failure. You're associating failing as being a part of who you are. You have to differentiate those two things. You're not going to be good at some of these things early on. Nobody ever is. When you started out to ride a bike, you didn't know how to ride a bike, so you had to learn. You had anxiety around doing that. When you first started driving a car, you had anxiety because you cared, because you were driving. It wasn't your car, probably. It was probably your mom or dad's car. And you cared because you're like, man, this is mom and dad's car. I don't want to wreck their car. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared, right? And so what we have to remember is that the more we do something, the more reps we get in. That's the key word there, reps. When we talk about sales, how many reps can you get in? Because what you're going to learn is that if someone tells you no, or someone hangs up on you, or they say, no, I'm not interested, even if they curse you, which, to be honest, is seldom, but it's happened to me. When the phone call is done, I'm still thankful because I'm still alive. I still live in the United States of America. I still have an amazing family. I still have my health. I still have my finances. And the beauty is that long as I'm willing to dial the phone one more time, I'm not worried. Long as you're willing to call one more person, what is there to be afraid of? Because numbers don't lie. Eventually, numbers happen. Eventually, you will call on someone, and it'll feel so easy. And what you'll realize is that it's not you. It's more so them. Now, we do need to get our skills up, but back to what I was saying, exposure therapy is that the more times you do it, the less anxious you will feel about it. A great way to do this is role-playing. When I say role-playing, all that is, which we will probably do this week, is essentially a mock phone call. You literally, with physically another person, doing like a practice call. You should role play every day. And you can role play, ideally you want to role play with another person. And what it is it's a physical action. It's you verbally like actually doing it. And it gives you reps. But the reps are when you're not that good. So like we don't want to practice on good leads, right? Like we paid money or we worked hard for those leads. Like we don't want to burn them, right? So role playing gives us the ability to practice our skills when it doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter because there's nothing to lose, right? So role playing, and if you don't have someone to do that with, that's okay. But sorry, my computer just went. It's okay. But you can practice with yourself, or we can practice on the role-playing calls, or we can jump on the phone for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. All it takes is 5 to 10 minutes, I promise. Get a couple reps out. It's like getting the machine oiled, and then boom, you're hitting the street. Boom, you're right there, right? And what it does is it raises your belief. It raises your confidence. All this is a confidence thing. If you knew 100% wholeheartedly that every single person you called was going to buy, you would have no fear of making the call. But see, there's the doubt that they say no, or that they get angry. Can't care about what other people think. And so, the willingness to take the action. And so it's almost a good analogy here is like if you're jumping off of a cliff. It's either all or none. There's no middle. There's no gray. Same thing with a phone call. You either call it or you don't. You either dial the number or you go do something else. Here's a couple traps that you have to watch out for. I used to do these. I still sometimes do. I have to catch myself. Here's one. Is self-induced distractions. And so you have your list of people to call, and you sit down and you start looking at it, and then you get distracted. And as soon as you identify something, I needed to type up that report and send it to so-and-so. Well, let me go ahead and do that first. And so that's a self-induced distraction because you're avoiding, it's called avoidance. You're avoiding the thing that you don't want to do. Here's my recommendation. Block out everything. If you're going to call, get a sheet. Don't have a computer in front of you. I want you to get a piece of paper. I want you to have the phone numbers, and I want you to have the phone. And I just want you to dial over and over. It's a conscious effort. This is going to take a conscious effort. Won't happen in a couple days, but I promise once you realize that it is more so on them than you, your belief is going to change to my results are based on the number of people I call. Yes, there's skill level. Yes, we need to get better. But once you realize that this is every single human in America struggles with the same thing you're struggling with, and that all it takes is just, are you willing to pick up the phone one more time? So hopefully that helps. Appreciate the time, and go crush it. See you, man.